Yes, these are really mostly, Mr. Chairman, the capital outlay requirements of the central and the regional offices, and these are various types of, machinery and equipment, office equipment, ID maker, transportation, motor vehicles.
Alin po dito yung motor vehicle, Secretary?
Uh,
Not the one
in
under
the
gas.
in the central office, there's a motor vehicle. We are buying two motor vehicles at 1.1 million each, and for the regional offices, we are buying two vehicles for regions 8 and 9, costing 1.3 million each. So that's about 4 vehicles, Mr. Chairman. And then
Saan po nakalagay yun? Yun ba yung 3.633 million? Yun po ba yung vehicle? On page 213?
well, the total is 2.2 plus 2.6, so that's about 4.9, and it's spread through the budget of the central office and the regional offices, Mr. Chairman.
So yung 1.1 sa Region 3, yun po yung isang kotse? Tama?
1.1 for the central office for two vehicles, so that will be 2.2 million. And then for regions 8 and 9, 1.3 million each for two regions. So that's
So sa Region 8, yung 1.870 na capital outlay, kasama na rin yung 1.1?
kasama na,
po?
Mr. Chairman.
Sa Region 9, ganun din, yung 1.545, kasama na rin yung 1.1?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
How about, sir, the 33 million capital outlay found in page 217 under locally funded projects? What is it for, sir?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the 33.9 million involves
0.886 to be exact. Tama ba?
that's correct.
Mhm.
0.886 involves the acquisition of video conferencing facility, the integrated network monitoring tool, system integration provided for and project unit for the gift miss, and PFM systems testing and training facilities, and then there is DBM network refresh. That's about it, so these are really for our ICT requirements mostly, Mr. Chairman.
Kindly submit to us, Mr. Secretary, the breakdown of the same,
We will do that, Mr.
of the
Chairman.
total CO. Can I ask, although it is broken down by region and by MFO, these COs are not considered as a budget as released document that does not require a SARO. Would these require a SARO?
No more, because they are already disaggregated to this.
But you don't know what it is. The budget doesn't say what it is. It's not stated here what it is. It just says CO. Unlike a DPWH listing or an MMDA listing, nakalagay yung project at yung amount. Ito po nakalagay yung amount broken down by region. Would this require a SARO?
Well, if it's normally found under the GAS, General and Administration Services, and it should be listed down there, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Where is it, ma'am? Where is it, ma'am?
Can you point to the GAS, the net kung saan? Yeah. Ito, medyo.
We've encountered similar provisions in other departments.
Hindi yan, pero sa anong detalye niya. Hindi sinasabi niya kasi sa DPW.
Ma'am, umupo po kayo. Baka tumangkad kayo niyan. Sit down. Wala po dyan, ma'am, di ba? So,
It's, well, it's just too much.
no, I agree it's too detailed.
Di pero saan to?
I agree it's too detailed, but what I'm saying is, when you issue a SARO, you place there, hindi ba yung eksaktong bibilin? Kalye, tulay, computer, kotse. Hindi po ba? The budget as released document will come in only if you can get all of those details in the budget itself. Ito, CO lang po ito eh.
Yeah, pero yung hinahanap niya yung, yeah. We actually have another publication that lists all the details of this. Although in the NEP it is summarized.
Where is that, sir?
It's called
Dump.
ano ibig sabihin ng dump print?
Yun lang yung mga details ng
Ma'am, use the mic.
Yeah.
Kindly identify yourself first and use the mic.
Sir, I'm Director Teresita Gapak of the Financial Service. Now, the details can be found in the dump print. That's the details of the budget by object and the details by object of the different departments. It's
Where is
included.
that, ma'am?
By PAP and by of the object.
Asan nga po yun, ma'am? Where's this book?
Nandun sa lahat atin. Hindi naka-print dito.
Why don't you sit down there and explain it?
Please, ma'am. For the record also, please state your name.
Good morning, sir. I'm Tina Rosemary L. Canda,
Ano?
Assistant Secretary of DBM. The dump print, sir, is provided each agency and department before they appear before the Congress. And it contains the details of everything that is included in the NEP. It's a supporting document, sir, and because it's so detailed, it's not incorporated in the National Expenditure Program.
Do you have it, ma'am? Do you have it with you?
We do have it, but I don't think we brought it. I don't think we brought it with us. I assume that it was submitted to.
That's part of our submission.
Ayun.
Did you submit that to Congress or to the Senate?
We've submitted the details to the LBRMO. Makapal, ayun.
Apparently, they call it a working financial plan. So, nakalagay na dump print yan.
I think it's different from because the work and financial plan is what we require when you begin to
That's what we
implement.
have.
Yeah. And the basis of the cash management.
Do you have a received copy of the same from the Senate?
Or can you secure a copy so that we can?
Nakakasundo na ba kayo dyan sa likod? Sabihin niyo lang.
As an added information also, the details of DBM's budget is also incorporated in the expenditure tables of the BESF. Is under
But my question actually, ASIC, is
B5C.
No, in the budget as released document regime, is this considered part of it, or will this require a SARO?
It will not require a SARO because it is considered part of the General Appropriations Bill, Mr.
I know,
Chairman.
but di ba, Sec, lump sums require a SARO.
Yes, that's correct.
Pag naka-line item siya, hindi na kailangan ng SARO.
That's correct.
Are these considered line item? Because you don't have the project description or the item description in what we are approving. Di ba?
Not in the detail that I think the.
That's precisely my
dumping
point.
was
We're not approving this. We're not approving this, ha? Di ba? This is submission, and we're not approving that. It's not part of the budget documents that we're approving when we vote on the floor. So, my question is, how can this be a release document? I'll give you an example. Itong 3.633 million capital outlay for NCR, which includes 2 vehicles, among others, and the balance for office equipment. How can this be, on page 213, the release document for that purchase? We don't even know what it is. Asan yung DA? Ano na yung DA? Yes, sir.
Well, there is actually a process that's still insofar as
This type
cases
of,
like this. Yeah, sometime in December before GAARD takes effect. For example, for vehicles, the agencies that simply listed generally under capital outlay procurement of vehicles are required to submit to us the description of this or the specifications of this these outlays so that GAARD will not come into effect insofar as their requirements are concerned until they submit to us those details. That's before you approve the budget, sir.
So if they submit those details, hindi na nga kailangan ng SARO?
Hindi na because
I'll give an example, sir. Department of Agriculture. Nakalagay lang po dito, Development of Organizational Policies and Plans, NCR, 225,000. CO. Under CO.
for
Budget as released document, oh, meaning no need of a SARO?
yes, but that document has to be supported by a submission of a specification of where that project is going to go. So if they're not ready by the time the GAA is in effect, then they will be considered under the negative list. So there is no opportunity for us, as you're pointing out, to look into the details of this acquisition if they involve capital outlay. So therefore,
But once it's submitted to you before we approve the budget?
Yes, sometime in December. In fact, even before you.
Okay lang po yung even before, but
Yeah.
when, assuming
Usually before the end of the year.
assuming we approve the budget on December 17, our second to the last day, and they submit on the 18th, negative list na yan?
Well, I think the reckoning point is when the GAA takes into effect. So if, for example, on January 2, those details are not available to us, then they will be considered under the negative list, and therefore they will have to request
yun?
for.
Sec or ASEC, saan nakalagay yun sa...
Yeah. Well, What we do, Mr. Chairman, is for the implementation of the GAA's release document regime, we issue a circular where we, of course, restate the policy, and then we set forth the the conditions for the GAAR to take into effect, and define who are qualified to under the GAAR, and then define who can be subjected to the negative list. So that circular will set that in motion, Mr. Chairman.
So it's that circular, not the DAB print, as you mentioned, Asik-Tina. Not the DAB print.
The DAP print just supports the.
Is
yeah,
it
the
DAP
circular.
or DAB? DAMP.
Dump
Ano ba
prints.
spelling? Ano ba?
DUMP.
Hilig nyo sa DAP. I mean, M eh.
Force of habit, sir.
Because even the DAMP print is not that. So hindi yung DAMP print, it's that submission.
Yes, Mr.
What do you
Chairman.
call that? DAMP print pa rin ang tawag niya?
It's a dump print, sir. It will actually, the agency submission will actually confirm what is included in the dump print.
Pero kulang nga to eh.
But, yeah, that is not all that's asked of them, Mr. Chairman.
So-
They still have to submit the details, the specification.
What
For
do you
example,
call
if
that
it's-
submission?
when the budget begins its execution, Mr. Chairman, we require all agencies to submit a work and financial plan, which is the programming of the execution of their budget, which is also the basis for the cash management program. So there they will have to be very specific as to both their financial requirements as well as the in instances they need to procure, then the specifications of their procurement, Mr. Chairman.
Talaga yung budget as release documents sa general provisions. Where is it? What section? Wala?
Eh,
551 is our basis for the fund release system. Actually, dati naman, may fund release system talaga tayo, but the only innovation is that we are using the GAA as
Mm.
the document itself. Even in prior years.
the practice, Mr. Chairman, over the years is that we issue a national budget circular that covers the budget execution process. Before the GAARD regime, we called it the fund release system. Well, there were two, the budget execution documents that we require from them, which is called the BED, and then the fund release system. But the GAARD simplified the fund release system because the general practice now is to treat the GAA as the release document, and the exception is the negative list. So, because this is going to take place not in the budget preparation or budget authorization, but in the budget execution, that's when the policy of the GAA as release document is set forth in a national budget circular for, well, it used to be called fund release system, but now it's GAARD, Mr. Chairman.
So what do you call that document again, sir?
It's called the national budget
No.
circular.
What the agency will submit to you that will contain the details.
It's well, they have to submit budget execution documents, and part of that is the work and financial plans. Meaning, they'll have to tell us at certain points during the year how much financing will they require, which is the basis of the release of cash, and given that amount of money, what amount of work is supposed to have been completed. So it's a work and financial plan.
I'm just concerned, Sec, because how can COA, if there is no SARO, And if those documents are considered merely an internal document between the executive offices of government, how can COA, for example, understood na budget as release document regime tayo, we require that all SAROs be furnished COA. Diba? Yung SARO, kung under the negative list. On the assumption that it's detailed enough. But if the details are to follow, and they can immediately, I'll give you an example nga, the 3.633 NCR capital outlay of DBM. How can COA trace this? How will they check the 3.633 million?
Sir, the circular itself, which is issued to start the execution process, already contains the amounts as well as the items for COA. We also provide COA, sir, with the list of SAROs, including the SARO itself, for purposes of...
Kung may SARO.
Opo.
Eh, ito walang SARO na
Yun
kamo
pong walang SARO, yun po, kasama po yun as annex nung circular. Kaya medyo makapal po yung circular because it already contains the items which are also not included in the negative list. So, it's considered comprehensively released.
Kanino po binibigay yun?
Sir, the NBC is
Wait,
for...
first, what do you call that document? Yung circular na yan, what do you call that
It's
document?
a national budget circular, sir. NBC 551? 551. Sir.
Why 551?
Yes, for this year, it's 551.
Why is it, what's the number based on? Circular.
It's a sequential number, sir.
So, nireserve nyo na yung 551.
Hindi, sir. It was issued early part of this year. So, sunod-sunod na.
So, NBC 551 yung pang 2015.
Apo.
This will contain...
2014, sir. 2014 po yan. Yung 2015, it will be issued once the GAA is...
Yeah. So, it will contain the budget execution documents and the work and financial plan.
No,
Naka-attach yun doon?
No, sir. The work and financial plan, as well as the under which the work and financial plan is actually under the budget execution documents. It is contained and required under a separate NBC, and that NBC is more or less not changed, and unless there are new forms, it is implemented and executed every year. We require budget execution documents to show the targets of the agency, what they need to accomplish financially and physically.
Okay, ma'am. So, what do you give COA? You give COA the NBC?
We give COA, sir, the NBC on the fund release because that's where the items are included. COA is also provided a set of execution documents as well as the accompanying document which shows the accomplishment already of the agencies. These are contained in the budget financial accountability reports.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, under the general provisions of the NEP, there is section 87, and the heading there is submission of release documents. So the DBM is required to furnish COA a list of all items under this act that were considered released upon its effectivity into law. So these are the guard items. But likewise, the DBM is also required to submit to COA a copy of all release documents, which is really the SAROs and NCAs pertaining to the release of funds. So both the items that are subject to guard and the items that are in the negative list, we are required to furnish COA the details of those releases, Mr. Chairman.
But the list of items that are considered released, yun nga po ang tanong ko, anong documents yung bibigay nyo sa COA? The NBC?
Yeah. Wait, do you have the Form A? There are forms that when we issue the budget execution document, yeah, there are forms that the agencies fill up under the BED, and one of them is like I don't know if it was Form A because that one has details of the requirements. Actually, it can be accessed through the website.
Actually, my point is basically this. Ang dream ko, you were APRO chair before. ang pangarap ko as finance chair, meaning one thing I can or would like to leave behind in the Senate is, there are so many lump sum items, blind corners, so to speak, in the budget, like this one, however small it may be. The capital outlay of 3.633 for NCR, which includes 2 vehicles and office equipment. It's still a lump sum, however small it may be, simply because we don't know the dump. We don't have a copy of that when we approve the budget. Merong contract price, binid out, mas mababa, may savings. Di ba? May hindi natuloy, savings. Ang pangarap ko sana, may document na ma-issue ang House for the previous budget year that can actually say exactly where the money went. I don't even think there's such a document in existence from the DBM, from the Committee on Appropriations, or from the Committee on Finance. Lalo na kung 2 years yung validity ng budget, di ba? Ongoing pa rin yun. But after 2 years, nobody really goes back anymore unless COA does it and comes up with a list na ito yung budget na in-approve namin when it was implemented, even if we come up with that document 3 years after. When it was implemented, this is how it looks like. Di ba? That's why we would want to get some details too about these things.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, actually, that is also the
Your
vision I have for... no, in fact, you can test us, Mr. Chairman, before the end of this year, because I think what you're referring to is the, it's a budget integrity principle. You'd like to see the budget as enacted and the budget as implemented.
Yeah.
And you'd like to see if there is any deviation from...
For sure there will.
There will, yeah, there will be.
Understandably.
What were the deviation and to what extent the deviations were made? Because I think there is the general, which I'm not familiar yet with because we're just embarking on this for 2014. I was told by our Chief Information Officer that we should be able to present to you. It's like a budget integrity analysis by the end of 2014, which will show the budget as enacted versus the budget as implemented,
Exactly.
and an analysis of the deviation and to what extent are the deviations legitimate or acceptable, and then some courses of action that need to be made. So we are with you, Mr. Chairman, in doing that. And as I said,
I'd be curious to see that
you
report.
call us at the end of the year, and we would like to be able to make that presentation to you, Mr.
Kindly
Chairman.
make that presentation in the Oversight Committee, sir. Sir, I'm in the, as a reference point, the NEP. You have a copy of the NEP, of course. Volume 2. On GPPB, ano po itong 2,074,000 na capital outlay? I'm only asking for the capital outlay because I assume that the MOE is really for MOE. Hindi ko mukha ng ibang agency na yung seeds procurement, machinery procurement, nandun sa MOE. MOE here is really for MOE, right? What's the 2.07 for capital outlay, sir? What is it for?
That's very likely ICT equipment, Mr. Chairman. This list. Saan yan?
Just for the record, sir, because I asked everyone else.
Yeah. There are mostly, for example, office equipment, finger scan biometrics, which includes installation costs for. It will reduce the payroll processing cost, so that amount is 255,000. And then dot matrix printer also for admin. And then laptops, there are 20 laptops for additional work as a result of the reorganization of the GPPB TSO from 29 to 49 plantilla positions. And then finally, digital media equipment. This is for the Information Management Division, and these are really software packages for...
The breakdown to SEC is here, in that book, in the dump.
Yeah.
Is it there? Sir, just a question, also for the record. Bakit ganon? Is it a COA circular or an accounting practice Yesterday, we deliberated on the budget of the DA. Yung office equipment nila at computer, nasa capital outlay. Pero yung purchase nila of machinery, post-harvest facility, is in MOE. Why is that?
Surprised that that is the categorization because
No,
they really
that
should
can-
be capital outlay.
That's in
Mr.
the
Chair.
that's in the NEPA. Ma'am, kayo na sumagot ko. Mahaba pa yun eh. Sasabihin nyo kay Sec, isa-summarize ni Sec.
Sir, under COA rules and regulation, there are certain equipment items which may be categorized as MOOE.
Who
These are
decides that?
small.
You,
no, no, sir.
DBM, DA,
No, sir,
COA.
it's a COA, regulation. If it is 10,000 and below, then it's considered as MOOE.
No, sir, it's in the billion. No, ma'am, it's in the billions.
If that is the case, sir, then there should be some corrections if that is acquisition of equipment. But if the item under the GAA is acquisition, but there is no acquisition in effect, then
It's
hindi
under
siya,
MOE. It's under MOE. Even the other agencies. If you look at their capital outlay, it's so small.
It's possible, Mr. Chairman, that the equipment is not being used administratively, meaning it's not being used as equipment for the office.
Definitely. No, it's this.
It's possible that
pang rollout.
it's being given out as
Yeah.
grant in aid. In which case, when you categorize,
So if it's grant in aid, it's
then
MOE?
it becomes MOE,
Huh?
Mr. Chairman.
Why? Saan ho nakalagay na bata sa libro yan? No, it's confusing because
gaam ho yan, nasa,
from the point of view of government, so sa accounting, pag kinapital outlay mo, kasama sa asset ng gobyerno? Ganun ba yan?
Yeah, if you use it administratively.
Pag MOE, it's consumed when you give it out?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Behind it?
Yes, because it's really part of there are beneficiaries of the grant, and the grant item is then considered not an equipment, not an capital outlay in the usual definition that we make of it, but really as a
Sec, just
A
to
project
inform
grant.
me, saan ho nakalagay na bata sa accounting rule and regulation yan? Can you just give it to us?
sir, it's included in the COA chart of accounts that this are going to be transferred or going to be granted as subsidy should be considered as MOOE.
Pakibigay naman po sa amin yun, ma'am. Kindly get us a copy of that.
Otherwise,
Just for us to be able to read it and get the source document.
otherwise you will have to issue an MR of those equipment,
That
and you
you
will have
give
to be
out.
accountable for them. So that's I think that's the reason
So
behind.
that's why it's in MOE.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So basta grant, MOE na siya. We're also supposed to discuss the special shares of LGUs. Actually, I have questions on that. 163. SecNep Volume 1. So that we're literally on the same page. Special shares of local government units, page 163, sir. The era is here. The era is here, right? Number 1.
Yeah, okay, we're on the
Right,
page.
sir? We're on the same page, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
ERA is number 1. That's 389 billion 86429. Correct, sir? This is automatically appropriated.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
May I ask, Secretary, about the ERA? I already inquired from DBM actually regarding this matter, and I would want it on the record. There are some LGUs that were newly created in accordance with law, not by law, in accordance with law. I'll give you an example. 7 municipalities in Maguindanao, created by the regional assembly, pursuant to law, they can do that. they told us that if it does not comply with the local government code provisions on the creation of a municipality, wala silang IRA at i-charge na lang dun sa IRA nung pinagkunang munisipyo or sa probinsya. Minsan binibigyan daw ng probinsya, minsan hindi, depende kung kakampi yung mayor. My question is, saan ho nakalagay yun? That policy, na if it does not comply with the local government code, even if it is created in accordance with law, it will receive no IRA.
Sir,
Nice, Director.
Yes, ma'am. Director Ruiz, ma'am.
sir, under the Organic Act of ARM, there's a provision that since the regional government may create, the regional assembly may create LGUs. However, if they do not, if they create LGUs not in accordance with the local government code, their financial requirements shall be sourced from the regional government. So
There
it
is
will-
a specific provision in
Yes,
the
sir.
ARM.
Yes, sir, in the Organic Act of the
That's
ARM.
not in the BBL.
Which one, sir?
That's not in the BBL.
Oh, not sir.
No, that's not in the Bangsamoro Basic
didn't-
Law.
I'm not privy, sir.
I'm telling you, it's not. If the BBL will take the place of ARM, and that's not found there, and deemed repealed ang ARMM by the BBL. So, and since it went through the executive already, am I assuming that after the BBL, even if it is non-compliant,
Well,
mabibigyan na siya ng IRA?
we will look into that, Mr. Chairman, because if it's not there, then I think
It's not there.
it has to be reflected there because the Bangsamoro
I'm just saying it's not
takes
there.
over. Okay.
1. 2, under the local government code, is there a similar provision?
Yes, Your Honor, but I think it would be particularly for barangays created
Yes.
by the LGUs.
There is a specific
Yes.
provision too. Can you ask someone someone from your staff to kindly inform you in a while the exact provision
Yes, sir.
in the local government code? Because provinces can also create barangays,
Yes, sir.
right? So if it is compliant, you will give its corresponding IRA.
No, Your Honor, under the local government code, if it's created by law, then it will be entitled to IRA. However, barangays created by the LGUs
By ordinance.
by ordinance, the financial requirements shall be sourced from the LGU creating them.
Okay. Third, the IRA is based on what survey of the DENR insofar as land area is concerned? Because it's based on population, right? Land area and equal sharing.
Asking about the
land surveyed upon which IRA is based.
well, it's year.
Just for the record, they can answer.
It's year 2001, Mr. Chair.
What if a more recent survey was done on a specific area, not necessarily the entire country, validated by DNR, and it went through the BLGF? There are several barangays supposedly under this category, and some cities and some municipalities, meaning nung ni-resurvey, meron palang matagal nang hindi kasama sa bilang. It's not a matter of taking one barangay from the adjacent municipality and giving it to them. In some cases, may ganon. But this is really an area that was not part of the computation at all. How do you treat such applications and such petitions, I presume, from these LGUs? Ma'am, please identify yourself and you may answer. Para mas mabilis tayo, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm Jane Aberia, Assistant Director.
Ma'am Jane, good morning.
Yes, sir. Yung issue ho niyan, sir, kaya nga ho yung 2001 lang ho yung ginagamit kasi ho, yun ho yung naging instruction ho ng Office of the President that it has to be validated.
Sino
May
pa yung
mga-
presidente nun? The
Ah.
president now?
Hindi ho, meron ho tayong recent na memo to the President na we need to we need to validate, sir, kasi nga hindi ho talaga nagkaroon ng discrepancy
Yes, ma'am.
yung 2004 na land survey.
Precisely.
So, we're instructed, the CCD was instructed DBM, DILG to come up with an updated land survey na
Ma'am, but
para ho ma-update.
2001 was 13 years ago, 2004 was 10 years ago, and I presume if we're going to question the discrepancy between the 2001 survey and the 2004 survey, the solution is to do another survey. Paano yun? I mean, you see how unfair, from the point of view of the LGU, for example, I'm bringing this up, Sec, because we're in this particular topic, sa assistance to LGU, because it will be very difficult to recompute the era of all the LGUs if we will all of a sudden, di ba, factor in this particular land area or a barangay. It will foul up the entire computation. But I'm suggesting and proposing perhaps remedial measures through this special assistance can be made to these such LGUs to be identified once you verify it. Not necessarily equivalent, but just to offset somehow the years that they have not been given any. Not necessarily 1:1. Hanggang maayos lang. So when will you be able to finish your survey, ma'am, or the validation?
Just on that point, since it's really a policy question that's being raised, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't, I would be open to providing that that assistance to some extent. But what about in the case, Mr. Chairman, when you have the other side of the picture,
Which is
you find which is really there are certain arm areas where you find that the land the measurement
mali.
is much less than what has been officially recognized. So that's the other side of the coin, really.
Admittedly, I guess hindi mo naman sila pwedeng singilin. Pwede mong singilin, pero hindi naman babayaran. Di ba? I mean, practical. You can only correct it prospectively. And what I'm saying is, you don't really have to correct it retroactively too. Just for those that you find meritorious, you can give them an amount para sa computation ng ERA in the following year. Perhaps they can be included already. But just that fund or sum, not necessarily yung sa ARMA, that's Director Ruiz said, yung financial ano nun is under the LGU na. Ito yung mga based on the more recent surveys, mali yung area. Dahil nga nag-resurvey na na-correct na whatever mistakes were done in 2001 were clarified, enunciated and corrected. If there is such a situation, again, subject to your approval, of course, and evaluation, di mabigyan ng pondo.
Well, yeah.
Just an item, just a
Yes,
line
yeah.
actually, Sec, to give you that flexibility. Yes, Secretary.
No, well, this is something that we have to take up with the President, Mr. Chairman, because it's really his discretion. And as I said, there is basis to it, and therefore we will raise
Let's take it up before we approve the budget for 2015. Para malagay natin kung pwedeng ilagay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Number 2, 164 still, the 3.043 billion 529 for LGU share in mining taxes and royalties, forestry charges, etc., etc. Do you have a breakdown of this, Secretary? It's down to the last 9,000. Di ba yung last?
There should be a breakdown.
Can you give it? Is it in the dump too? No. Can you give it to us, please?
Yes, we
Kindly
will.
just submit it to us.
We will do that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Number 3, itong 10,190,974, ito yung under 7171. Di ba may isa pang batas on barley?
Yeah, there are two, the Virginia and the barley, Mr. Chairman.
Is it here too? There, yung pangalan, number 4. Now, the 10,503,000,000, does this have an itemized distribution? Is it simply to which LGU it will go, or is there an itemized distribution on what projects it will go to?
Not so much the projects, but the amounts, Mr. Chairman.
Per LGU.
Per LGU, down to the municipality. What we need to settle, Mr. Chairman, because of the recent, if you recall, the Belgica decision, the Supreme Court, which will now prevent the representatives of the districts to.
I know.
So that is now what is being discussed. How do you then distribute? But insofar as the existing shares of municipalities
Under the
and
law,
barangays,
the legislator can name the law.
Yes, yes.
7171 and what's the other law?
82
10351.
10351. Yeah.
So if they identify it here, pre-enactment in the budget, detailed. Can this have an itemized listing, this particular portion of the budget on special shares of local government units?
I think that's possible because what is prohibited is post
Post-enactment.
enactment. Yeah.
What did the House say?
They're actually relying on it because the issue is pending with the Office of the President through the OES, but I think this may be a faster solution to deal, because this is then becomes a law, because I think at the end of the day the executive will have to face to the fact that this was a provision of law, and therefore
Yes.
therefore we may have to resort to
Kindly take note
the
of that,
J-
secretaries
yeah.
and the secretariat rather. Kahapon ako sa secretary ako ng secretary, yung secretary yung umuoo eh. The secretariat is instructed to take note of this so that we can take it up when we meet with the House, with our House counterparts. Allocation of LGU share in incremental collections from VAT. Ano po ito, Secretary Abad? I'm on item number 5. What is this? Can you expound on it? Page 164 still, item number 5. Allocation and release of LGU share in incremental collection of VAT.
Yeah, this is their share in the value-added tax pursuant to RA 7643, Mr. Chairman.
How is this distributed? No, do you follow the ERA computation? Is this
ERA formula. We follow the ERA formula, Mr. Chairman.
again po?
No, I'm sorry. I think it's the BIR that determines the LGU shares based on the collections made, Mr. Chairman. Anong formula? Ito sa VAT. Hindi. Hindi yan VAT. We're just looking at
Please, sir.
7643, Mr. Chairman, because I think the formula is defined there. Okay. Okay, wala ko.
It's about the amendment to the VAT law, yung incremental increase. So it's not part of the ERA computation. That's why there is this provision. May I ask why?
Yes, sir.
Ba't hindi pa nasama? Ang tagal na nung batas na yun.
Sir, ininet, doon ho sa total collections ho ng BIR, nininet out ho yun ating mga special, yung mga shares ng LGU ho. Nininet out ho siya, and then doon ho kinukuha yung, kung ano yung net amount of the deductions, doon po kinukuha yung 40% of the ERA.
Net amount of the deductions? What
Opo.
deductions, ma'am?
The deductions being provided to us by BIR includes the shares from the mining tax, shares from the ecozone, shares from the VAT, and shares from the tobacco taxes po, among others.
Mr. Chairman, there is a gross national internal revenue collection. And then there are deductions that are, because of the operation of law, are deducted from the gross. And then the net national internal revenue collections is really the basis for the 40-60 sharing.
ERA.
Yeah, of ERA.
That's the ERA.
That's the
Now,
ERA.
what is this?
It's part of the deduction.
No, the ERA is the 389 billion. That's the gross minus the deductions you mentioned.
That's the net.
389 is the share of LGUs in the net.
In the net.
Ano ngayon tong 10 billion?
That's part of the deductions from the gross.
Why are we giving it to them? If it's a deduction from the gross,
Well, it's mandated by 7643, Mr. Chair.
that the deductions will also be given to them.
They have a share. They have a share in the additional VAT. Mr. Chair.
May 60-40 pa dun sa
Net.
deductions? Ha?
No, sir. Yung gross, babawasan yun. Then, yung bawas na yun, ibibigay po sa mga
Huh?
So dun sa gross incremental VAT collections, may share yung LGUs. And that is deducted from
But
the
VAT is part of internal revenue, right? It is. It's not?
Sir, dideduct na ho yan ng BIR. Doon sa
Total
total,
VAT is total VAT
collections
collections
po.
is deducted from internal gross internal revenues.
Basta sir, ang binibigay ho sa atin ng BIR, sa amin po ng BIR is the gross collections, and then dideduct po yung mga dapat hong i-deduct based on laws, which includes the VAT for the LGUs, and then whatever is the net
No,
amount.
not yet the VAT for the LGUs.
Not
The VAT per
necessarily
se.
the VAT in total.
Are you deducting the VAT from the gross internal revenues?
Mr. Chairman, I think VAT is part of the total
It
NIR
is.
collection.
Hindi nang alam ko, it's part of it.
What is deducted is because not all LGUs have uniform, or even not all have shares in the incremental VAT. So that is deducted from the gross national internal revenue collections, which includes VAT in general, Mr. Chair.
Sir, I don't want to waste too much of your time and my time. Can you submit to us a 1 or 2 page thing to explain this to us, just for us to understand it? The fifth special provision. Number 6, allocation and release of LGU share from VAT in lieu of franchise tax. Ano naman to? Same order with respect to number 6. Kindly explain it to us, Ms. Director Abelia, as if I were a grade 3 pupil, ha? Pakisimple, ano? Huwag niyo masyadong komplikahin. What is number 7 about? Allocation and release of LGU share in gross income tax paid by all business enterprises within the economic zones. 24 million. So naka-breakdown to dun sa provinces, municipalities, and barangays where the zones are located? Ganun ba yun?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Number 8, ERA monetization. Ano po ito? Ito ba yung sa programa pa ni GMA noon, no may utang sa differential ng ERA at minonetize ng iba, yung iba pumayag na hulug-hulugan sila? Ito ba
That's
yan?
correct. That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Hanggang kailan pa po natin babayaran to? What's the amortization program?
We will complete payment by 2016, Mr. Chair.
By 2016. Number 9, tobacco program. What is this po? This is pursuant to 7171 pa din?
Sir, Mr. Chairman, parang utang ito ng gobyerno because there were years where this was not released. And for example, one reason would be there was no IRR issued to implement the monetization program. So this is a way of amortizing those obligations. to
Can
the
you
LGUs.
submit to us also that 1 or 2 page memorandum detailing yung mga taong walang bayad, how much the total amount is, what brought about these payments, when it will be finished? And for next year, yung breakdown po kung ano-anong lugar mapupunta to. So ito, Secretary, same problem as 7171 and 10351 and 8240 on the pre-enactment, post-enactment situation?
Well, I don't think that in the monetization program there is a provision that
No, not the monetization. I'm on number 9, the tobacco.
tobacco monetization program.
Kung utang to, the same problem as with respect to the pre- and post-enactment.
Very likely, but we will check, Mr. Chair.
Please do so, sir. Barangay Officials Death Benefits Fund, same amount as last year, correct, sir?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
I'm on page 167, Secretary. May I know the current availment of that fund? Is it enough? Do you augment it? Have you augmented it? Is it more than what we need?
I think the take-up of that is, but it's. I don't think this is in fact exhausted. Yeah, no.
So for 2014, nakakamagkano na tayo? Who manages this fund?
It's the determination of who benefits and
Is
the
the ILG.
validation is the ILG.
But the
They
fund
just-
is with you.
Yes, they just come to us for release of allotment, Mr. Chairman.
So how much has been availed of so far by the DILG for 2014? Do you have it po?
We'll
As of what date, ma'am? Sir?
end of August, about 36 million. No, about
balance?
13.9 million has been released, and the balance is 36 million. So, as I said, the availment is not that high.
Can you just submit to us, Secretary, please, the current availment as of August 31 and the availment for 2012 and 2013? I
We will
guess
do
we'll
it.
have a baseline already with that.
We will do that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Local Government Support Fund. Ito parang ganito to. Nakalagay sa MOE kasi grant. Tama ba yan?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a breakdown of this? Actually, imbis na dun sa previous sec, imbis na sa special shares, I think mas bagay dito sa ano yung sinasabi natin kanina? Local Government Support Fund. Para non-binding siya. Di ba? I'm talking about the land area and the era. Yung kanina po. I think it's, if ever, mas ano dito?
Yeah, this may be the appropriate item for it, Mr. Chairman.
Actually, it can even follow the same scheme as GPB for the LGUs that you'll be giving it to. Diba? So this is GPB.
Not all of it, it's 2.7 billion, Mr. Chair.
Para saan po yung 200 million?
Well,
Carry over to last
Yeah.
year, alam ko.
para lang may bahay, Mr.
Pero
Chairman.
carry over nga ito ng last year.
Last year,
Naalala ko to eh.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, pwedeng ito na ngayon. Pwedeng ito na yun. Ilalagay lang natin special provisions.
Yeah, just to
In order
be
to
specific
authorize it.
about it.
Yes. Special shares of LGUs in the proceed of fire code fees. What is this, sir? How much is the total collection? Because you're pegging it at 200 million. May we know how much the total collection is?
This is a new exaction, Mr. Chairman, and so far we have not gotten enough information from the Bureau of Fire to be able to give the details.
Do you have data on the availment or collections for 2014? Because I'm sure the 200 million you provided for in 2014 had some basis.
Yeah,
Use the mic, Ma'am Tina.
Yes, sir. Sir, this is actually a relatively new collection. The amount of 200 million was based on the assumption that the Bureau of Fire would be having 1 billion in collections. The Bureau of Fire charges its equipment requirements from this amount, from this collection. A part of their equipment
So
requirements.
the 800 is retained by them, or the 800
Yes.
goes to the National Treasury?
Everything goes to the National Treasury, sir, and the Treasury certifies the amount for the use of Bureau of Fire and the amount corresponding to the return to the LGUs. Yes, sir. There's a special account in the general fund for the purpose.
Can you submit to us a report too on this? Yung whatever data you have on the 2014
Yes.
availment and actual collections, I'm sure the BTR would have that on hand. $179, Mr. Secretary, contingent fund. Now, just a query, Sec. In light of the DAP ruling, I'll address this to, well, you're a lawyer too, Secretary Bud. What if we simply remove the last paragraph and insert on the second paragraph the submission of a special budget to the DBM and approval of the President in order to avoid cross-border issues?
That's actually the process that we follow. There's a special budget request, which the release of which has to be approved by the
Agree, but the
President.
last
So,
paragraph kasi states that it's considered appropriations under the executive branch, which brings about cross-border issues.
yeah, I think
But
What
the idea behind the fund is really to make it available for all the branches of government. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the
yeah,
idea behind
the sense of that phrase really is we just manage it. We just so it's just the executive branch that manages it, but it doesn't prevent but we can clarify
It's
it.
one way of
yeah,
clarifying it.
Yeah, yeah. That's I think we
better
can do that.
language can be proposed, perhaps,
Yes,
to
Mr.
make
Chairman.
to reveal the actual intent that it's just in the management, meaning they will submit the request. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Judiciary, the Constitutional Commission, and then it'll go through a process in accordance with the admin code, submission of a special budget, approval of the President, but it will be charged against a fund that's not necessarily
Exclusively the executive.
under the executive. Again, to
Yeah.
avoid the cross-border issues being raised against utilization of the contingent fund.
Yeah, if we can include a sense that it's actually just managed by the executive, but it's not.
Kindly submit to us proposed wording.
And
on it.
I think the same situation applies for all other
We're going there.
PSFs. Yeah,
No, we're going there.
Yeah.
We're going there.
Okay.
Same. So can you submit to us, Director Ruiz, Secretary Bad?
Yes, Mr.
Para
Chairman.
ma-clarify at maging compliant tayo dun sa DAP.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Now, the e-government fund, ito does not say that it requires the approval of the President. I'm on page 182, Secretary. Ay, hindi ba akin to? No, tinuturo ko lang, e-government fund. It's, di ba, walang approval of the president, special budget na lang yung requirement niya. I mean, just to compare with you the provisions,
Yes, because what happens there is actually a committee composed of the DOST, ICTO, and the DBM that oversees this fund, and they have well. Can I have Yusek Moya recognize he's our
Please,
CIO?
sir.
Yusek
he
Moya,
can-
please, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I think there's a law that states that the CICT, now ICTO, is the one who manages and approves the budget, sir. It doesn't go to the president anymore, sir. But there's a current mechanism where there's an interagency that